TGIF is back tonight on ABC.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. The dramatic rescues playing out days after the hurricane. And this evening, our team on the scene at this hour. The possible new discoveries at ground zero of this hurricane. The area we flew over, homes wiped off the earth by Hurricane Michael. Some of them we saw sitting in streets. And the new reporting coming in right now. The verdict is in tonight. Authorities say a homeowner opening fire on a black teenager who had missed the bus and who had come to the door to ask for help. What the jury has now decided. New clues tonight, a U.S. resident, a Washington Post columnist, last seen on this surveillance going into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Authorities say he never came out, that he was killed. And now reports tonight what might have happened to him inside, and new claims it was all recorded. The ABC News exclusive, our interview with First Lady Melania Trump. She opens up tonight about her husband and what she says when asked about allegations of infidelity involving the president.
Do you love your husband?
The images of cars on fire and concerns tonight, it could affect nearly 3 million cars. Now, the demands for a recall. And your money, your credit cards tonight with interest rates rising. What you should do right now to get the rate down on your credit card. And the one step tonight we never knew you could take.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Friday night. And we are just back from Florida this evening after witnessing firsthand the unimaginable devastation flying over that one community in particular, Mexico Beach. So many homes gone, pulled right off of their foundations, and there is news coming in as we come on the air. Word of a new discovery as search and rescue teams go from home to home there. What Rob Marciano has just learned, they had feared this. The death toll had already been rising today, more than a dozen dead. We also have new images tonight of the intense search and rescue operation underway elsewhere. Survivors pulled out by helicopter in many areas, trapped vehicles could not get to them. And look at this tonight, Mexico Beach before Hurricane Michael made landfall, and this is what it looks like afterward. Just stunning. Meteorologist Rob Marciano was right there tonight, and he has just learned of that new discovery, what authorities have told Rob moments ago.
Tonight, time is running out to find survivors in the storm zone. Customs and Border Protection using Black Hawk helicopters to rescue 2 residents from Panama City, hoisting them to safety. The area impossible to reach by vehicle. Officials tonight saying many areas are just too dangerous for people to return to. As we make our way to Mexico Beach, you can see destruction everywhere you look. This is where Michael made landfall. That 14-foot storm surge and those 155-mile-per-hour winds.
This is where the wind and surge was greatest. The water ripping these homes off their foundations and carrying them, in some cases, hundreds of yards inland. The stronger, higher buildings remain, but the expanse of the damage is mind-boggling.
Emily Hansen and her mother shell-shocked by the devastation.
It's pretty devastating. Like, everybody we know lost their house. Everybody. And our jobs.
Daniel Krupp reluctantly deciding to ride out the storm with his wife and their dog Leo.
We didn't want to be here. We had to come home because we had our animals here and we had some people watching our animals. The storm increased so rapidly that we didn't have time to get out of here.
He's lucky to be alive. Nearby, Tyndall Air Force Base also taking a direct hit. Today, we saw cargo planes arrive, carrying teams to get the base back up and running. Before finally moving off the coast, Michael drenching Virginia and the Carolinas with more than 9 inches of rain in some spots, triggering widespread flash flooding and water rescues, killing at least 8 people, including a firefighter. Well over 1 million without power in the storm zone tonight. Some estimates for the damage from Michael near $4.5 billion.
And Rob Marciano with us live tonight from Mexico Beach. Rob, such an incredible scene there. We saw it there yesterday. You're back there at ground zero today. And I wanted to ask you, because officials had feared this, that with so many homes simply gone, that they might find additional victims. And you just talked with the fire chief there?
I did, David, just a few moments ago. The Florida fire chief in charge of search and rescue today confirmed to me the first fatalities here in Mexico Beach, that being one. But they are now sending an additional search team out with a dog to search for the person they believe to have been with the deceased. And after being in that town, that zone, seeing those mounds, those huge mounds of debris, I can only imagine that this won't be the last that we hear of fatalities. David?
All right, Rob Marciano leading us off tonight. Incredible work all week, Rob. Thank you. The other major headline tonight, a verdict this evening in a case making national headlines, an explosive trial in a Detroit suburb. A homeowner seen on home surveillance firing a shotgun at a black teenager who prosecutors said had missed the bus and was simply going to ask for directions. Tonight, the homeowner's defense and what the jury has now decided. Here's ABC's Alex Perez.
A home security camera in suburban Detroit capturing the harrowing moment 14-year-old Brennan Walker knocked on a stranger's door for help. A woman answers, and seconds later, her husband emerges with a shotgun in hand and opens fire, Walker running for his life.
She thought I was trying to break into her house. I was trying to explain to her that I wanted to get directions to go to my school.
Prosecutors say homeowner Jeffrey Ziegler intended to kill Walker.
We, the jury, find Mr. Ziegler guilty.
A Michigan jury today convicting him of assault. The teen had missed the bus that day and was lost.
I saw a black person standing at my door, and I screamed at him, and I asked him what he was doing there. He tells me that he is going to school.
Ziegler's wife says he was opening the screen door. Her husband says he never meant to aim at Walker.
I wanted it to fire more up in the air, more towards my shoulder, and I didn't get that chance to, like I said, because it was slippery and I didn't have a good grip on the gun.
Prosecutors argue Ziegler acted deliberately.
If he didn't intend to hunt him, he would have stayed in his house. He would have waited for the deputies.
And Alex Perez with us live tonight. And Alex, that homeowner is now facing the possibility of prison time.
That's right, David. He is set to be sentenced next month and could face up to 12 years behind bars. As for that teenager, he was not injured in the shooting. David?
Alex Perez with us tonight. Alex, thank you. And next here this evening, new possible clues in the mystery disappearance of a U.S. resident and Washington Post columnist. Last seen on surveillance going into a Saudi consulate in Istanbul. We showed you this before. Turkish officials now saying they've obtained recordings of what happened inside that consulate. Authorities saying he was brutally murdered. President Trump tonight under growing pressure to take action against Saudi Arabia and what the president said today about this. Here's ABC senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
Tonight, chilling new reports about what happened after this moment caught on security cameras in Istanbul when Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi walked into the Saudi consulate and has not been seen since. Turkish investigators are certain Khashoggi was killed inside that consulate. The Washington Post now reporting Turkish officials claim that there is audio and video evidence of the assassination. The Post quoting a source, "You can hear his voice and the voices of men speaking Arabic. You can hear how he was interrogated, tortured, and then murdered." Khashoggi, a columnist for the Washington Post living in the U.S. and a frequent critic of the Saudi regime, entered the consulate 10 days ago, seeking official documents related to his upcoming wedding. Hours earlier, according to reports in the Turkish media, a private jet had arrived from Saudi Arabia, 9 men on board, one of 2 planes allegedly linked to the operation. Then, after Khashoggi had been inside for 2 hours, 2 black vehicles are seen leaving the back entrance, purportedly the hit squad. They're traced to the residence of a top Saudi official, while Khashoggi's fiancée waits for him outside the consulate. Later, 2 Saudi planes departing Turkey that evening. Today, Senator Bob Corker, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, saying the evidence is strong.
Everything I've seen does point to the Saudis.
President Trump, who's made closer relations with Saudi Arabia key to his foreign policy, arrived in Ohio tonight and backed away from drawing any conclusion.
And nobody knows quite yet. Nobody's been able to put it all together.
The president adding he will call the King of Saudi Arabia, quote, pretty soon.
And Terry Moran with us live tonight from the White House. And Terry, there's another story the White House is following. You're following as well. We want to bring our viewers up to speed on this. American pastor Andrew Brunson flying out of Turkey late today after being detained there for nearly 2 years. A Turkish court convicting him of aiding terror groups, now sentencing him to time served. He and the U.S. have denied the charges. We understand a medical evaluation will happen in Germany. Then a U.S. military plane will fly him back to the U.S. And you're getting reactions tonight from the White House?
That's right, David. The White House is elated. President Trump brought a lot of pressure on Turkey to achieve Pastor Brunson's release. It was important to evangelical Christians in this country as well. So Pastor Brunson coming here after a stop in Germany, and President Trump says there'll be an Oval Office welcome for him. David?
Terry Moran on a Friday night at the White House. Terry, thank you. We turn tonight to the ABC News exclusive, a rare interview with First Lady Melania Trump. Nothing was off limits here. The First Lady speaking publicly about her marriage to President Trump and about allegations of infidelity involving the president. ABC's Tom Yamas and his exclusive with First Lady Melania Trump on the scrutiny she says she has endured as First Lady.
Through it all, she has held her tongue. Silent when porn star Stormy Daniels stepped forward. Silent when the White House denied the affair. Silent when the president later admitted to paying hush money. But now, in our exclusive interview, First Lady Melania Trump is finally ready to talk.
You did agree to this interview, to your credit, with no preconditions, knowing that there could be some tough questions asked. And it has been a tough year for you personally. You're not the First Lady to have to deal with her husband's alleged infidelities. Has this put a strain on your marriage?
It is not concern and focus of mine. I'm a mother and a First Lady, and I have much more important things to think about and to do. I know people like to speculate, and media like to speculate about our marriage and circulate the gossip. But I understand the gossip sells newspapers, magazines, getting advertisers, and unfortunately we live in this kind of world today.
Have you been hurt though?
Media what is speculating, yeah, it's not always pleasant, of course, but I know what is right and what is wrong and what is true and not true.
Though the First Lady insists she's not focused on the swirl of scandal, it is clear she is paying close attention. And she was not happy when her husband's lawyer seemed to put words in her mouth.
She believes in her husband. She knows it's untrue. I don't even think there's a slight suspicion that it's true.
The next day, this statement from the First Lady spokesperson. I don't believe Mrs. Trump has ever discussed her thoughts on anything with Mr. Giuliani.
The only time you have commented publicly your office was when Rudy Giuliani came out and said your thoughts about Stormy Daniels' claims and said she believes in her husband, she knows it's not true. Is that an accurate statement?
I never talked to Mr. Giuliani.
Why do you think he came out and said that?
I don't know. You need to ask him.
You mentioned you still have a good marriage. Do you love your husband?
Yes, we are fine. Yes. It's what media speculate and it's gossip. It's not always correct stuff.
An incredibly candid First Lady, and she was willing to answer questions about everything I know in this interview with you. I was struck earlier this week when we learned what she said about certain people within the administration. Didn't name names, obviously, but she said there were people that she couldn't trust in the White House.
That's right, and the president, David, has actually responded to that. He said, quote, "We have great people. Are there some I'm not in love with? Yes, and we'll weed them out slowly but surely." David, one of the things we learned in our interview is that when Melania Trump doesn't like something, whether it be about staffers in the White House or its controversial immigration policies, she lets her husband know.
Well, we know there is a lot more to this, Tom. Our thanks to you and the wide-ranging interview again tonight about the president, how she says she's been bullied, and about trust in the White House. The interview's tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, on a special 2020 Being Melania, the First Lady. Tom, we'll see you then. In the meantime, overseas tonight, new outrage over Pope Francis's comments about the child sex abuse scandal rocking the Catholic Church. The Pope accepting the resignation of Cardinal Donald Wuerl, Archbishop of Washington, D.C. He's accused of covering up allegations against priests in Pennsylvania. Pope Francis angering abuse survivors, praising the cardinal for his, quote, nobility in stepping down. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Friday night. The images of cars on fire and concerns it could affect nearly 3 million vehicles on the roads. Now tonight, the demands for a recall. We'll have details in a moment. Also, new cases confirmed tonight after our reporting earlier this week on that mysterious virus affecting children, where they're showing up now. And your money, your credit tonight. And with interest rates rising, the one step you should do involving your credit cards right now to get the rate down. It's something we never knew you could do, and it's easy. Right after the break.
You're headed down the highway when the guy in front slams on his brakes out of nowhere. You do too, but not in time. Hey, no big deal. You got a good record, and Liberty Mutual won't hold a grudge by raising your rates over one mistake. You hear that, Karen? Liberty Mutual doesn't hold grudges. How mature of them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise their rates because of their first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient